Before I start this video, I want to give a brief description of what it means to be a remake, remaster, or re-release. It gets quite messy and companies often use these names interchangeably, but here are the official and supposed definitions. The simplest is a re-release, a literal release of something again, usually on a newer platform. These tend to have no updates or changes other than controls or some settings. A remaster is a visual update. This means that the story and gameplay is not touched at all. Remasters focus on creating a more modern look for games and perhaps adapting controls while leaving everything else as is. A remake is a complete overhaul. Everything is changed, with the loose idea of being the same game as the original. Often the story remains similar, but it can be adapted or changed completely. Gameplay is also created fresh. It may be unique, or it may be the same as the original. It's up to the devs. Typically, all assets are newly created. So, why do companies do these? Some are cash grabs, but some are for preservation. Are remakes better than new games? And why would we want a remaster, anyway? I'll start with an example. Metroid Prime Remastered shadow dropped in a Nintendo Direct on the 8th of February 2023. While it looked very similar in terms of design, the graphical enhancements were easily visible, showing consumers the main reason to buy the game: the new graphics and updated controls. So, as my previous definitions would suggest, it was a remaster. A great one at that. In gaming, remasters are typically used for older classics which can't be justified to remake. They're almost never built up as a big release, but fans of their respective games are always excited. In this case, Metroid Prime was presented as essentially a new game. While definitely a remaster, it stood strong on its own in a world where both this and the original can coexist. So why am I mentioning this remaster? Well, here's another example. The Last of Us Remastered released on July 29, 2014, just one short year after its original release. That's 20 years fewer than it took to remaster Metroid Prime. While I'm not trying to hate on the remaster, there are very few changes from the original to justify its existence. Higher resolution character models, improved shadows and lighting, slightly upgraded textures, and some bug fixes. These are all of the changes. Compared to Metroid Prime's remaster with completely new graphics, this game could simply have been an update, not another full price release. So why did Naughty Dog, the creators, opt for a slight enhancement over a remake? It's simple. The popularity of The Last of Us exceeded expectations, so what's the easiest way to generate more money while the sequel is being created? A remaster. While there are definitely more scummy examples out there, I do believe that this was unnecessary as there was minimal time for technology to develop a significant amount. Remasters are generally great. They allow games that haven't been playable for years to become a new and modern experience. While some may be better than others, I do believe that majority are welcomed. The reason some remasters are often seen as unnecessary is that they remove from the definitive way to play a game. In 2015, people would assumably recommend a remaster of The Last of Us. However, for casual players, it may make the decision convoluted, perhaps even reducing sales or splitting them between the two games. A good remake is one that makes a big graphical stride or brings the game back entirely. The more time that has passed since the original, the better. Typically, the games receiving the most hate tend to be the ones with the smallest time difference between the original and the remaster, due to minimal changes. Re-releases, on the other hand, usually have practically no changes unless contained within a collection. They serve a few key purposes in the gaming industry. Firstly, they allow classic titles to reach new audiences on modern platforms, preserving their legacy and making them accessible to players who may have missed out on them during their initial release. Secondly, they provide an opportunity for publishers to capitalize on nostalgia and generate additional revenue from existing intellectual properties. One notable example of many re-releases is the launch of Nintendo Switch Online service. While the service is often heavily criticized for its price and lack of value, the availability of these games on a modern platform allow a new generation of players to experience some of the most beloved titles in gaming history. Re-releases can also be a strategic move by companies to maintain interest in a franchise while they work on developing new titles or projects. By keeping older titles accessible to players, publishers can keep the brand alive in the minds of consumers and build anticipation for future releases. Fan demand often plays a significant role in driving re-releases. Many gamers have fond memories of playing certain titles from their childhood and eagerly anticipate the chance to revisit those experiences on newer consoles or platforms. Publishers often take note of these sentiments and may prioritize releases based on the level of demand from the gaming community. However, despite their benefits, re-releases are not without their criticisms. Some players argue that publishers rely too heavily on rehashing old titles instead of investing in new and innovative gaming experiences. Additionally, the lack of significant updates or improvements in re-releases can sometimes leave players feeling underwhelmed, especially if they were expecting a more substantial refresh of the original game. They can also be seen as quick jobs and receive bad reputations, as often re-releases are not optimized and run poorly despite the improved technology, and even sometimes play through the cloud. In conclusion, re-releases play an important role in the gaming ecosystem, allowing classic titles to be preserved and enjoyed by the new generation of players. While they may not offer the same level of innovation as remasters or remakes, their accessibility and nostalgic factor make them a valuable addition to the gaming landscape. But what happens if a re-release is more expensive than the original? Lastly, but arguably the biggest, the remakes. A remake is the most comprehensive approach to revitalizing a classic title, as it involves a complete overhaul of the original, creating updated graphics, gameplay mechanics, and sometimes new narrative elements. Unlike remasters or re-releases, remakes aim to create a new experience compared to that of the original game, while taking advantage of modern technology and design sensibilities. A recent example of a remake is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Originally released as Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation in 1997, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth altered the experience with a brand new open world which would not have been possible in the original, and a fourth wall-breaking narrative, almost entirely different to the original. Decades after the original, Square Enix embarked on an ambitious project to reimagine the beloved RPG for a new generation of players. The result was a stunning reimagining that not only honoured the original game's legacy, but also introduced innovative gameplay mechanics and narrative. This was not treated as fan service from Square Enix, but rather a full-fledged AAA game mastered the same way an entirely new game would. This is because remakes are different to remasters and re-releases. They are a new experience for both new players and old. They adapt everything. Another noteworthy example is Persona 3 Reloaded, originally released in 2006. The game combined the iconic scenes, location and storyboard of the original with modern features as seen in Persona 5 and Royal, creating a unique and beloved gaming experience. Again, this shows Atlus treating the remake as a AAA game and a noteworthy release, expanding hype over what would have occurred if it had just been a remaster. And it's not just improved graphics, it's new music, story, controls, menus, locations and more. Remakes offer developers an opportunity to breathe new life into beloved classics, introducing them to a new generation of players, while also providing long-term fans with fresh new experiences. By leveraging advancements in technology and design, remakes can enhance the original vision of a game while staying true to its essence. However, like remasters and re-releases, remakes are not without their challenges. Developers must strike a delicate balance between honouring the original game's legacy and introducing new elements to keep it relevant in the modern gaming landscape. Additionally, fan expectations can be sky high, especially for titles with dedicated followings like the two games previously mentioned, placing added pressure on developers to deliver a product that lives up to the hype. Remakes represent the pinnacle of nostalgia-driven gaming experiences, offering players the chance to revisit beloved classics in stunning new ways. But they also allow an entry point more than that of remasters. They act as new, modern games for anyone to pick up and play. Whether it's reimagining the epic adventures of Cloud or rediscovering the horrors of Persona 3, remakes have the power to reignite passion for timeless classics while paving the way for new adventures in the ever-evolving world of gaming. So, should all three exist? Yeah, I think they should. Each one has a different expectation, meaning that fans don't get over or underhyped by announcements. A re-release is for fan service or preservation, a remaster for reviving games or a cheaper way to produce games while AAA studios are hard at work, and a remake is a brand new experience designed to impress. But what do you think? Should all of these exist? Comment down below your thoughts, and I'll see you next time.